What's up, Steve? How are
What's
you?
up, buddy?
How you doing?
How you doing, man? Everything's all right.
Yeah,
Everything's okay.
good. We got a special guest today.
I know. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I have not seen Louie since we did a small scene I had in Jersey Boys.
Oh, you worked with him on that.
And Louie
Is this
was
the
in
first
that.
law enforcement side of the Sopranos we've had on?
I think so.
I think it is. Well, he played FBI agent Skip Lipari. Had a big presence in the first 2 seasons of the show.
And he was the guy who flipped Big Pussy, Vinny Pastore. And he was an FBI agent who, when Big Pussy turned rat, he was the guy who did it, who he reported to. He's also done a ton of other stuff. 24, Entourage, Natural Born Killers. He was in Spider-Man 2, all kinds. The new Fantasy Island. He had a nice role in that when they did a remake with Malcolm McDowell. I mean, this guy has done a ton.
Yeah, he's worked for a long time.
And he's a
been
good
around.
guy. He's a Bronx guy. And let's bring him on. Our friend Skip Lipari, Louie Lombardi. Come on down, brother.
Hey, what's up, boys?
Louie, how are you? Good
I
to
love
see you.
I love the introduction. I feel like Michael Jordan.
There you go.
Bernard King. Like Bernard King. Remember Bernard King? I know you guys do.
The Bernie and Ernie show.
Yeah, Ernie Grunfeld. Yeah, I used to go to all the games. As I feel like that now. I'm on the court.
How are you? Good to see
man.
you. Really good to see you. You're in California as we are. You're staying safe. Everything's all right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't go out anyway. I'm always home. Thanks, buddy. So do you guys.
You look good. So look, now, you started a little late. How old were you when you got your first role?
18.
Oh, really?
Oh, you weren't late.
I've been acting since I was 13, 12. I have headshots. And how I started was I didn't go to acting school and I didn't have money to go to film school. I would audition for NYU Film School. I don't know if it's still around. Backstage. How old am I?
Now it's
Backstage
online.
It was a magazine. It's now online?
Now Backstage is online, but it was a newspaper. Yeah, we got it every week at the newsstand.
Every Thursday, and you send them out Thursday afternoon, and you do it to everything in the magazine. That's how I got amongst friends. But I would do auditions for NYU films to learn how to act for free.
Yeah.
You know, and that was my kind of training. So I had headshots when I was 12, 13, and I did like 20 or 30 NYU films, and I learned how to make movies as well as act. So I got a double, like a double lesson, you know, and I didn't spend any money, and I was on set, you know.
So it's like you went to NYU Film School, but you didn't have to pay for it, basically. Like you got a scholarship, right?
Thanks, Michael. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And Louie, you grew up in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the neighborhood there wasn't many actors around, I would assume.
In my neighborhood, there was.
Where'd you live? In Drogs Neck? Were you in Drogs Neck?
Yeah, country club.
Yeah.
But from my neighborhood came Louis Venerio, Mike Starr, Jimmy Matteo. There was a lot of guys that came out of like the local country club, Frogs Neck area. No, I've written, directed, and started 2 films, and Mike Starr's in both of them, Jimmy Matteo's in both of them. You know, Frank Pellegrino, guys that I started with like in before even Hollywood, and as I grew into, you know, those are all in both of my films. So people watch them and go, hey, they're the same guys. I go, yeah, because those are like friends that I started with like in '93 when I moved here.
But you knew those guys in the neighborhood or no? Or you met them after?
No, I grew up with them. I grew up with Jimmy Matteo, our family. He's a family. Mike Starr knows me since I'm 18. He actually got me my first Burger King commercial.
Wow.
And when I was 18, I didn't even have a union card. How I got my union card was when I moved to LA after Amongst Friends. I did a movie called I did Amongst Friends, and Oliver Stone saw me and put me in Natural Born Killers, and that was the Amongst Friends thing, and he took me, paid for my union card, put me in Chicago with all those guys for 3 months, just flew me there, and I ended up being in all those scenes with like Tommy Lee, Robert Downey, Woody Harrelson, the whole Natural Born Killer cast, and I was like this kid from the Bronx going, wow, yay, you know. So that was how I got my union card.
Do you know Vinny from the Bronx too?
Okay, guess how long I know Vinny? Since I'm 14.
Really?
Vinny, my uncles used to own a restaurant. Vinny used to own a club in Norris.
Which restaurant did your uncle own?
Renato's.
So in Westchester, that's where I'm from too.
Oh, where?
from Mount Vernon.
Oh shit. Denzel,
We used
right?
to go to Vinny's club when we were kids. Yeah.
So did I, and that's how I know Richie Palmer when I was 14.
Okay, I know
15.
Richie too.
Yeah, but
Vinny allows you in at 13. 13.
yeah, because
That's-
my uncle
He allows you in the
used to
club.
go
Well, the
get
drinking
thrown
age
under the
was
bus,
18
Steve.
then. You know, you could
It was
drinking age
14.
was 18, so it was a little
It
different.
was 14, Michael.
The drinking age was 14 back then.
And Louis, so that's quite a coincidence. You know Vinny since you're 14. Now he's
Yeah.
The Sopranos. Tell me how that happened. How did you get the audition? Did Vinny help you? Did you go on your own? Your agent? What happened? How'd you audition for that role? Because I auditioned for Skip Lipari, you know.
And I auditioned for Big Pussy before. Wait, it's going to be a funny story because
So
what happened was, Steve.
Tell me your intro to The Sopranos.
Well, I did a movie called Suicide Kings. Okay.
Oh yeah, was
Suicide
Chris
Kings.
Walken in that?
Yes, Michael.
Yeah.
And what happened was Georgianne had seen it and said, "Hey, I love you. We're doing a new show called Sopranos. Can you come in?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I went in, Michael, and I read for the role where I think I was Big Pussy, and we were throwing someone in a dumpster.
Yeah, that was in the pilot.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We were rap body, and I auditioned
Yes.
for that at Brillstein Gray. And what happened was Steve brought up a show I did called Fantasy Island with Malcolm McDowell. I did a show, the remake of Fantasy Island.
How
with
many
Malcolm
episodes
McDowell.
did you do that?
8.
8. Yeah.
8, and I got to live in Hawaii, and I went there. So what happened was, so after I auditioned for that scene, I think it was with your character,
Yeah.
and I leave, I got Fantasy Island, and they said, okay, you're going to Hawaii for a year. So I was out of the loop and for Sopranos, right? So this is when everything when you think looks worse becomes best in life. That's why you never get down. You keep breaking through walls. What happened was Fantasy Island was a $50 million bust in ABC, big show, making tons of money, living in Hawaii, 30 years old. This is great. Show gets canceled. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like January. I go back to New York to see my mom for the holidays, right, Mike? Georgianne goes, Louie's here? Can he come in? Now, I knew Jimmy from 94, 95. I used to stay with him. Jimmy.
Gandolfini.
Yeah. We used to stay together back 95. So we used to hang out all the time, me and Jimmy. Like all of us. Like the actors hanging out at the places. So what happened was when I left Hawaii, I came back. Georgianne's like, can you come in that day? I'm in Hawaii now with a failed show. You thinking the world's crumbling? The next day, I'm in New York. I'm in the casting room with Georgianne. And Jimmy's there. And I got like 5 scenes for the Skip guy, right? All these pages to read. And Frankie Renzulli was a buddy of mine. Frankie Renzulli had called me and said, take the cop role. It'll be unique. It'll be great. I was like, okay. He's like, Louie, you could see yourself, like doing other cop roles. And I was like, wow, Frankie, he threw that out. And I went in. So Jimmy's in there. He has the pages and he's reading. And he's reading with me. He goes, I'm going to read with you today. He starts reading with me and we're reading. First scene, he's like, okay, it's over. It's done. I was like, oh, man, I fucking suck. I just embarrassed him, because we were friends, and I felt terrible. I was like, oh, my God. He's like, no, you're done. Chase's like, no. He goes, no, we don't need to read. No, we're done. So I'm like, shit, this is terrible. I just got fired off the show. It's done. I go to leave. They call me within an hour and said, you got the role. And it was the Big Pussy, who I know for 35 years since I'm a kid. So I knew Jimmy, and it was just all one big synchronicity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, wow. That's something. I mean, you know Vinny Pastore since you're 14, and all your scenes were with him, right?
Yeah, right. Everything, Steve. That's what made it more amazing. It was like, I know this guy since I'm a child. I knew Jimmy since 94, 5, and it was like everybody was just in the wave. Sopranos was definitely the changing point of my career and my life.
Really?
Because what happened was after I did, Mike, because when I did Sopranos, I went, the creator, Joel Cernan, was 24, you were saying, Steve, so I did 24 as well. So the creator of 24 had seen me on Sopranos years later. He goes, I'm watching all the Sopranos. I loved you as the cop, Louie. Now this is where Frankie Renzulli had a little foresight, saw it. They called me and I'm 24. He goes, I want you to come in for one episode. You played the cop. on 24. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Michael. I was on
I didn't
24.
see it, yeah.
So I played this nerdy, quiet computer genius who gets yelled at and gets, like, beat down, and it turned one episode turned into 48.
Wow. That's great.
And I did 2 seasons, and we ended up winning the Emmy. And one of my highlights was when we won the Emmy. You guys were there as well. So Jimmy and everybody was in the front row, and we got on stage, and I was on stage at the Emmys, and we were getting our Emmys, like, for the whole best drama thing. And this Jamie and all the guys were in front of me, and Jim was like standing up, away, like cheering. I was like, this is like the most surreal moment, Mike, of my life.
That's great.
It's also Michael went to acting school with
John Ventimiglia.
John Ventimiglia. I mean, everybody. It's very odd to me that all these guys wind up on this great show, you included.
Yes.
Kind of know each other. You and Vinny and everybody winds up on this great show together. So when you did Fantasy Island, were you like the new tattoo?
Yes, I was. I was up there yelling the
Was that your name? Was that the character's name?
Cal, C-A-L. But I was on the tower. Hey, you ever see me going up the little tower and that little thing they built? I had like fucking squeeze
I
me
knew
up,
him.
but-
I knew Hervé Villachez. Actually.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Did you get drunk with him? Did you get
I
drunk?
did.
He's crazy.
I did. I hung out with him, me and my brother. And I also know Malcolm McDowell. I'm friends with Malcolm McDowell. Yeah.
Malcolm's the best. Let me tell you
He's
something.
cool.
Malcolm's a great man. He looks so serious and like on TV.
Oh, he's funny.
He's a 15-year-old kid in his mind. Yeah. I was with him for a year. Like, we were starring that show together. I love him. He's a great guy.
Louie, that's a nice gig. You were in Hawaii, and I
30
lived
years
in Hawaii
old,
in the 80s. You're 30, and you're getting paid big money.
Where were you in Hawaii?
Yeah. Oahu. And they built sets and they built mansions, like, for the sets, and everything was filmed on the beach. And, but it was fun. It was fun. But when you're on a show, and I don't know, and it's a failure, it's kind of like a sinking ship. So no matter how good the situation is, the content is still hard. You know what I'm saying? So you're doing these shows and everything's failing, and you're trying your hardest, and you have no control of what the audience watches. We all know that. We've done movies that's supposed to be the biggest movies in the world that bomb, and little tiny movies like Amongst Friends and even Suicide Kings that blow up. Even my little film I did, Deuces Wild, with all these guys one time, and every single one became a star.
Wasn't Dre DiMatteo was in that, right?
Yes. And
Stephen Dorff.
Dorff, Brad Renfro, James Franco, Johnny Knoxville. These were all their stars. They were James Franco was no one when he did that movie.
Right.
Oh man, Vinny Pastore was in it.
Who directed that?
Scott Calvert, and
who did Basketball Diaries.
Yes,
right,
Mike.
That's right.
Yeah, and he passed away.
He passed away. I know.
A few years ago.
And Louie, when you did Amongst Friends, which was a low-budget movie that really did well at all the festivals, Rob Weiss, who became exec producer of Entourage and I think Ballers, and a very successful guy who I knew his dad in Vegas. I was very friendly. His dad Carl Weiss used to bring junkets into Vegas.
Yes.
In the 80s in Vegas. Yeah.
Holy shit. Well, Steve, it's funny because all the jogging suits I wear in Amongst Friends were his dad's. We would go. His dad loved me and Frank Pellegrino, so we would go to his house, eat dinner. This is 91.
Yeah.
Okay, we would go eat at the house, and Carl was like, "Oh, Daddy, look like me." People were like, "Is that your dad?" We'd go out, and he was a sweet man, and we would go to his closet, pull out his jogging suits, and we wear them to film. So all those stuff we wore.
That's funny, but the movie was a good movie. It was a low budget with basically all first timers in there. Mira Sorvino was in there.
She cast me. She cast me Amongst Friends. What happened was we went in. Her dad put up 10 grand, and she ended up Mira Sorvino ended up casting me and Frank in the film, and she loved us. And then what happened was, she was a casting person, so she was auditioning people, right? The 2 girls dropped out. This is how, again, you never know what happens in life. The 2 girls, I think it was Daisy Fuentes. Remember her from MTV?
Yeah.
I think 1 or 2 of these girls were up for the role. They dropped out. Came down to the last minute. Mira said, "I'll do the role." Rob made her do the role. She did the role. The film went to Sundance. Robert Redford saw her. put her in quiz show, and it started her career almost by accident.
So now, when you were working with Vinny, because most of your scenes were a big pussy, and the thing
All
that
of
I
them were,
liked
right.
about you, you were in New York, you're FBI
Wait, Steve,
agent.
can I stop you one more second? Do
Sure.
you know who I know since I'm a baby? Frankie Pellegrino, and he paid my boss in Sopranos.
Wow, look at
My
that.
mother grew up, my grandfather grew up with him, my mother grew up with his wife. So again, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it was like the small world.
Yeah, very insensitive. It's really something how it all works, man. I mean, it's hard enough to become an actor and make it on any show. We all know how impossible that is. And then all these people that know each other, grew up, have roots together, wind up on the same show. It's pretty amazing. I mean, Michael's been friends with Johnny V for 30-something years. And
since I'm 17, and acting.
Wind up on the show. I mean, it really is.
Well, was your family from East Harlem?
Yeah, my grandfather, my grandfather, my whole family's from East Harlem.
Yeah, I met your grandfather in there.
What, bud?
I think I met your grandfather. What was your grandfather's name?
Gigi.
Yeah, I met him. I met him years ago in Rails. He was a nice guy. Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a legend. He did like 30 straight years in prison, and
I think I met him with you one time.
He was very nice. We were in Rails. I was in Rails eating. He was there.
Yeah, that's where his staple was. But and it goes back to Frankie Pellegrino, to Vinny Pastore, guys I knew since I'm a baby. And I'm on the biggest show in the history, one of the best and biggest shows in the history of TV with all of them. And I kind of, I don't know, I just, I find it to be a blessing. One show failed, and then I went to you guys, and it kind of boosted my career massively, and I love it. I'm so proud of being on The Sopranos. I love everybody there.
I think it's ironic that you have over your left shoulder, there's a sign in the background that says nobody likes a tattletale.
Well, wait, look at my shirt, dude. Stop glorifying rats. I wear these all the time.
So that's all about big pussy, right? Nobody likes a tattletale.
I love big pussy, please. I love him. He'll hold a grudge.
So Louie, so you're playing an FBI agent that's a street guy, and it was great because you weren't a buttoned up guy. You were a street guy who, flipped big pussy. So you're doing these scenes with Vinny. You know each other a long time. How was that? Is he big
so
time?
Easy.
Is he big timing you during the thing?
Yeah. Oh,
he's big timing, right?
He always does. Come on, Steve. We know.
We love him. We love him to.
We love him, but he big time me. He was like, Louie, do me a favor. We're on set. Don't look at me. Get my coffee if you want more lines. I was like, really? He's like, yeah.
That's funny.
I spoke to Chase. She'll be out of here tomorrow. I was like, okay.
He's breaking your balls. Yeah.
No, but me and Vinny, he lived he still lives in City Island, so I lived right there. I would drive to his house, sit in his house all day, run the lines over and over. Then we would drive to the set together, run the lines in the car like we normally did, and we would be 1 or 2 takes, and we were done. We rehearsed the heck out of it, and you know what? It was great. I loved it. I love Vinny. I love Vinny like an uncle. He's, I love him.
We all love him. He's gonna be on 2 weeks in the finale.
It's cool. We've been, going through in season 2, and it's like at some point Skip turns and becomes really hard. Like you see in the beginning, you're kind of trying to be his buddy. You're both, both from the neighborhood, and it's all this kind of ingratiating yourself. Then at some point you just kind of get really hard with him, basically.
Don't pull my taffy.
Yeah. And you're just like, I'm not the one who's selling heroin. You're, you got to do, this is not a romance. We're not friends.
I think you threatened to put a bullet in his head, don't you? I think you threatened him.
Yeah, I put a bullet in this big fat boar's head. I say, yeah. I know the lines. Come on, Steve. Want to know what's funny is talking about my grandfather, right? I'm actually doing a show now with MGM about my life growing up in the Bronx, 14-year-old kids. I'm going to play my grandfather in that show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm all going to be in the prison stuff. It's all going to be in the prison. So, yeah, MJ, we just hired a huge showrunner coming on, and we're closing all the stuff up now, and it's going to be shot in New York, but it's more about younger kids and women. Because none of us grew up with dads. We all grew up, like with no dads, this whole bunch of guys I ran with, and we were all our own crew as a 14-year-old kids, and it turned out to be some devastated their lives, but some went on like myself, So the show's based on that, and it's about women bringing up these young kids in this crime world. It's going to be great. I'm excited for it, and Yeah, and we're gonna shoot it in New York, and I'm really excited. And I also did a show in Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst, called Gravesend. I did this show. I executive produced it, and I star in it. Like Paul Ben Victor's in it, Nick Totoro, who else? Nick Totoro,
good guys. I love that.
James Russo, Ken
Good
Lerner.
cast. Good cast.
Yeah,
what is it? A
cast.
series or a movie?
Yeah, it's a limited series, Mike. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's called Gravesend, and it's pretty cool, man. It takes place in 1980s, the heyday of the mob. You know, like when like that era was like, you know, really powerful. It's kind of cool. It's really
great.
It's kind of
great.
cool.
It's on Amazon. It's playing now on Amazon.
Yeah, there's like 4 episodes, half-hour episodes. It's pretty cool, and we have a great cast. Again, most of those guys are my friends that I know. Ben Victor, I did Mob City with for Frank Darabont, and
well, he's a great actor, as is James Russo. I love Nick Totoro. I did. I was going to do a pilot with him years ago. I love Nick to death.
Ken Lerner was great, Steve. Ken Lerner was so great. He played the Hasidic. He was so great. We shot in Bensonhurst, so I ate my way through Bensonhurst.
Sure.
I ate every place in Brooklyn. People were bringing me stuff. I loved Brooklyn. Yeah, but there was a place called La Casabella Pizza in Brooklyn. The best. Great. Everything. The people were great. The old stores were beautiful. I loved it.
Now you're going to hear from the Bronx people going, come on, from Arthur Avenue. What are you saying, Louie? The food's better in Brooklyn than the Bronx?
Oh, look at Steve starting trouble. You controversial woman, you. Michael, you're going to help me out? You're from almost the Bronx. You're from Money Earning Mount Vernon, Michael.
So, Louie, tell me about your food line. I know you've
what I'm doing now is, I created this food line, right? But the purpose of the food line and the message of the brand is bring families back to the dinner table. Teach your kids to cook. You know, it's so lost these days, parenting, and it's so sad. Parenting these days is, here's an iPhone, here's McDonald's, shut the fuck up, I worked all day. And it's so sad. That's why some of our kids have no outlets, and they pent up and they have anxiety because they don't sit around and talk. I know when we were young, you Steve, you Michael, our parents would cook. We would sit down. We'd all sit around the dinner table and we'd talk. We'd sit down. There was no phones in everyone's faces. And that's what I'm creating now. And I got a lot of massive distributors that love the message. I've done so much press for this already, but I also want to tie a few charities to it as well. A youth program, a single moms program. You know,
so what's the name of it?
Single mom. It's called Lombardi's, and you can go to my website, which is lombardisfoods.com. My Instagram is lombardisfoods.com, and so is my website. It's the same, Lombardis with an S, foods.com. But Steve, I cook every night in my house. This is not something that I've been doing it since I'm a baby. And I'm brought up by 3 Italian women, so you learn to cook before you learn to do anything, right? I'm using the wooden spoon before I can speak. And that what happened is, but the company's 4 generations. My grandma, my mom, now it's me to my daughter, and I want to definitely kind of help younger youth kid programs because now there's so much homeless and poverty, and everybody's so rich or you're so poor. I want to help kids. That's what I want to do. The company makes a ton of money. I'm going to go all these youth programs and contribute, you know, and try to feed kids, you know, like I was when I was a kid.
Beautiful. One more time. Give us the website.
It's lombardisfoods.com. LOMBARDISFOODS.com.
Beautiful.
And when I start having these food parties, like for charities for kids, I hope you guys would come and eat with me. You know,
I would love to be there.
Sounds good, man. Thanks, man.
You're a wonderful guy. It was great talking to you. Be safe. Good seeing you. Be safe, you and your family, and I'll see you soon, Lou. See you, my friend.
Podcast, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lou.
Louie
Lombardi. Thank you.
All right.
Louie Lombardi. Yes, a good guy. A lot of energy, a lot of stories.
And
really
great character on the show. Very important.
He was great. Great. Yeah, good guy. He's done a lot of work, man. You know,
he's always worked. He's very consistent.
He never stops working. He's been in a lot of really big movies, and these are good guys. So
I want to tell you, I got a message on Instagram from one of our fans. His name is Simon McKeon. Simon goes to the Cork School of Music, which is an art school. Besides music, they also teach theater and drama. And he turned our podcast he turned his professors onto the podcast. And now his professors are playing our podcast for the drama students, quote, simply to help them not lose faith in acting while we all battle through this crisis.
Wow, that's nice. I like that.
So basically, they're kind of teaching Talking Sopranos 101 in drama school right now.
It's better education. You can't get a better education anywhere.
They're doing a seminar on Bacala's being the mother figure to Junior and wearing a fat suit and all that stuff. So we were supposed to go to Ireland in May to do Conversations with the Sopranos, which is a live stage show we do with Vinny Pastore. Maybe we'll make a stop at the Cork School of Music next year when we go back, when we go to Ireland.
Let's hope we get there. That would be great.
That's cool.
It makes me happy when I hear that doing the podcast makes people happy. Sincerely. I mean, people are looking forward to Mondays. These are crappy times still. They got something to look forward to. They got an hour and a half, 2 hours of hopefully some laughs and some knowledge. And that makes me happy. On the square, no bullshit,
It does. I'm getting messages from people all over the world. Yeah. Believe it or not, people asking for subtitles in different languages of the podcast. So that's for the YouTube version, obviously. But it's moving to know that people are into it, and at least taking them away from whatever difficulties that are going on, at least for 2 hours, hour and a half. That's very cool.
And speaking of difficulties, our friend Pete Hamill, my favorite writer, he passed away fairly recently, and I just want to rest in peace, Pete.
Yeah, he was a New York legend, a voice of the city and a voice of our times, and we're friends with the Hamill family.
Yeah,
and we send our condolences to all the Hamill
family. If you've never read his book, there's plenty of books, a lot of them, but called "A Drinking Life" is
great,
terrific book. So yeah. My best to Pete Hamill. So today I wanted to ask you, I'm going to quiz you actually. A lot of people ask me, especially our good friend Barry Watkins, Barry, a dear friend from Madison Square Garden and numerous other things. What do all these credits mean at the beginning? Who are these people? Co-producer, executive producer.
Oh, well, that depends.
People, edited by. I mean, what do they do?
Well, casting people, we know we've had them on. They find the actors. Okay. They bring the actors to the director or the producer, and they're the link. They're for actors, they're critical. Getting a casting director in your corner will help your career exponentially.
Well, they're like the bouncers. They could get you in the door.
Yeah, but they're also advocates for you. I mean, when I was first starting out, it was Deb Aquila, it was Sheila Jaffe, Georgianne Walken. It was people like that who early on, before I had done anything, turned me on to agents, introduced me to agents, and got me work and got me seen. And I'm indebted to those people.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean,
Ellen Lewis, Julia Taylor, those,
I've been helped. I've been helped, of course. And if a casting agent doesn't like you, they won't bring you in, or doesn't like you or your agent. I had my first agent there who was a jackoff. He is such a nasty bastard that he's such a nasty bastard, this guy, that casting people won't see his clients. Yeah. So it's hard enough.
How long were you with this guy?
Oh, I was with him from when I very first started. 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
We started out as friends, and then he became a lunatic. And there are casting people that won't see his clients. So it's hard enough to get an audition. It's hard enough to get a job. And now they hate the agent, so they're not going to see the client, man. All right. So created by David Chase. He's the guy, obviously, who created it, who thought
their idea.
Up. It was his idea. Edited by.
Well, that's the editor. That's the person who cuts it and, puts together, from the assembly of all the different scenes and takes, they put it together. And that's, they say that a film is made in 3 stages. It's the writing, the writing, then the production, the shooting, and then the editing. And editing is a lot like writing, because you're taking all these pieces and you're putting it together in a way that becomes an experience. Often it's different than the script. It's not always following the script. You might find a better way to tell the story, was not the sequence of scenes in the script. And an editor can make or break a movie. I mean, it's critical job.
But isn't there's a process? Because I think if I'm not wrong here, the director gets a shot. He delivers his cut after they shoot the episode. The director, per union, he's allowed his cut.
Yeah, but he does that with the editor.
But usually it's the exec producer, David Chase, who has the final say.
Oh, it depends on the project.
Yeah.
TV is one thing. Movies are different. You know what I mean? Independent movies are another story. It's the same with producing credits vary in terms of the project. In independent movies, you can give an associate producer credit to someone who introduced you to someone who brought money.
Well, that happens a lot.
That happens. You can get a producer credit. Sometimes when you're shopping a script around, someone passes the script to someone else and they want a credit. They were breathing next to the script and they think they deserve a credit. It's sometimes can be very, nebulous.
Yeah, then also there's executive producers that put up the money for the project.
Put up the money or find the money. On something like a big movie or The Sopranos, we had Brad Gray, who was an executive producer, who was David's manager. And also was had a production, probably brought the script to HBO and got David in there. Often, executive producer, if you hang around long enough, you're a writer and you're a consulting producer, you'll start off at that. Eventually co-executive producer, if you've become very important and critical to the production. Producer's usually a nuts and bolts guy who's putting together the production, right?
Line producer. Well,
like line producer is like he's the day-to-day, but a producer like Irwin Winkler, say, he gets producer credits on lots of big movies. He did when he was alive. He put together the deal, get the director to the studio and put together all those things in place. I mean, those credits can vary,
Yeah, of course, but basically the exec producer, he gets a hold of the script. Maybe he buys the script. Okay.
Gets a deal.
He gets the director. He gets the actors. He puts the pieces to the puzzle together. The producer, an exec producer, is the guy that hired the director.
Sometimes, not always.
Yeah. This is also something for actors, your credits, that's negotiated. So
credits
the main thing
on the screen, in the main titles, yeah.
The main titles. If you're a big star, you're above the credits, above, the title of the movie, right? Like when I started on The Sopranos, I was in the back credits, okay? When I became a series regular in season 3, I had a shared card. So you were number 3 or 4, right? That was all negotiated when you did your contract.
Single card, that's called. It's just
single
your name
card.
The opening credits.
Up front. Jim Gandolfini, Lorraine Bracco, Edie Falco, Michael Imperioli, Dominic Depending, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I had a shared card for a year or two. Then I finally got my own single card.
Yeah.
But that is negotiated on every show. Now, a lot of times an executive producer are the writers, like in our case. Terry Winter's an executive producer, but there's also Frank Renzulli, who was a co-executive producer, and they're doing the same job.
Because they're contributing to the production. They're contributing to ideas maybe for casting or ideas for story, it's usually, I think, earned in those cases. Going back to the acting thing, like when I did Goodfellas, I was completely unknown. I didn't get my name in the credits, opening credits, right? I was at the end when you have the role of all the people. If I would do a movie like that today and had a tiny part like that, or even a smaller part, because now I'm known in the business, I would be in the main title credits. Yeah. Even if. And then there's things like you might have a small part, but you're a known actor, so it'll be like you'll be the last person listed. It would say, and Michael Imperioli as Spider.
Or
with Michael Imperioli. And sometimes if you have, like in Hungry Ghosts, we had Emery Cohen. It was his first movie, but he was a starring role. So we'd say introducing Emery Cohen as a separate credit.
But the and and the with means more. A lot of people don't know that either.
It's featuring your name, featuring your role.
What does a story editor do?
A story editor, usually it's in the writer's room. You know, they're kind of, sometimes you start out in that position when they're grooming you to be a writer on the show, and that you're helping them organize the outlines and organize the assignments of scripts and stuff like that. And that could be kind of nebulous as well.
A gaffer. What is a gaffer?
Gaffer's basically an electrician.
The head electrician.
The head electrician. The gaffer is they're an electrician.
A grip. What does a grip do?
Grip deals with the lighting. They deal with the lighting. They deal with the flags and the diffusers that affect the lighting, that manipulate the lighting. They work very closely with the director of photography in the camera department. And the gaffer works very closely with the grips because they have to figure out where to put the electrics, because the lighting takes up a lot of electricity, how to run the cable and stuff like that.
A dolly grip.
Dolly grip is someone who basically moves the dolly, which is a dolly with the DP will sit on the dolly and the camera will be on a dolly and the dolly grip moves.
It's a hard job. It's a very hard job because they got to know when to stop.
Oh yeah.
You know, they work it out. Sometimes it's hard. They got to go around the corner. It's very hard. And that dolly grip is responsible so the camera stops on a mark, not unlike an actor.
Yeah. And that's a very precise. You have to be very precise when you're moving the dolly. Yeah, that's a good.
A production designer.
Well, they design the sets basically, and very responsible for the look of the film. I mean, production designer is that's basically it. They design the sets.
A location manager.
They find the locations on this, and that's a very critical job. Not only they find the locations, they have to make the deals. Because listen, sometimes you're going to go in people's houses. Sometimes you're going to take over a little store or a big business or Yankee Stadium. You got to make the deals with the people who own those locations. You're going to pay them. You're going to assure them you're not going to fuck up their house. You got to get insurance.
In this episode, I was going to bring that up later, which I will. Richie's buying this new house. Now, that's a real house. It's not a set. And there's no furniture in it. I'll bet you that they got 20 grand or more, those people. It's
really?
negotiated.
I would say 5.
Oh, no, there's some big money to be made there.
Really?
Yeah, especially a couple days. Walkers, the bar where we've been known to frequent in New York, 10, 15,000. 20,000, shut the place down for a few hours.
But I tell you, you don't want people shooting a movie in your house.
Unless, I hear what you're saying, Michael, but, if, depending on your situation, if someone comes in and they're going to take your house for a month and they're going to pay you $100,000, it pays
that's
you
a
more.
Different story. I mean, for the day, you're going to get a couple of grand. I mean,
listen,
I guess if you need it, of course.
But the people people also like the idea that the actors are going to be in their house. It's their favorite show. They could tell people for years to come, look at that scene. That's my house. Mike, I know a lot of times they'll take the furniture out, but we shoot in people's houses all the time. They're usually nice.
Bacala took a leak in my toilet.
There you go. He took a big fucking dumparooski. You should have seen the shit he took.
Best boy. You know what that is?
I do not.
They have to change. They have to change that name now. Because it's not gender. It can't be gender specific that way.
Are you joking? Is that true?
Now it's best friend.
Are you serious? You're lying. Get out.
My idea.
I like it. I'm surprised that hasn't happened in real life. A boom operator. Tell the people out there what a boom.
Well, the microphone's on this very long stick, so they can take sound of the actors in the scene. That's a hard job. You got to be really, really strong. Hold that thing up like for long takes like that.
And you know what's amazing too. people don't realize, like, you're doing a scene and you're at the table, and there is a microphone literally inches from your head.
Sometimes the camera right in your face.
Yeah, right. Right in your, the boom mic's right there. The guys, like you said, the camera's right in your face. The mic is inches away out of the side of the camera. Sometimes, once in a blue moon, you'll catch in a movie a mistake. You could see something, a gaffe that's gone wrong. But very good. Thank you for straightening that out for all of us, for the most part. But
hey, let me ask you a question, though. Yeah. When you go to the movies, and I assume you do, right? You stay for the whole credits at the end, right?
Yeah, I do.
You do, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
I do. I stay for the credits, absolutely.
And we have to do that because that's our those are our brothers and sisters in the business that we have.
But a lot of times, it's I've worked on like Clint Eastwood movie. I couldn't negotiate it, and it was up to his discretion. And he doesn't use front credits. A lot of movies don't use front credits anymore. They used to. They don't all use front credits on a movie. And I had a shared card on when I did Hereafter. But Woody Allen, he put me and Sirico, he put the two of us in the back, and that annoyed the shit out of me. As soon as I went in, I had a decent role in this movie, and as soon as we went to the premiere, me and Tony, we were sitting next to each other, and we were in the back credits, and that annoyed the shit out of me because I think I had earned it, and a lot of things on a Woody Allen movie are unusual, but that's for another
including
time.
The director.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to go back to the thing about the credits because in the old days, like in the 70s, maybe the 80s, in movies or TV shows, sometimes they'd have like the drug dealer to the crew or hookers for the stars or like people's mistresses encoded credits in the movie.
And why would they do that? Because they would say, listen, I've sold so many people so much coke, I think I deserve a credit. Because back then,
producer.
Wow, that is funny. Do you know anyone? Do you know anyone who did that?
I've heard tell about this stuff, yeah.
Wow, that is interesting. Have a hooker. Hooker gets a credit.
Yep.
Good. We've got Talking Sopranos. This is season 2, episode 11, House Arrest.
Very apt title because Junior's in house arrest, but I'm going to talk about this later. Tony is in his own form of house arrest, and we, a lot of that is the story in this episode.
Now, this is a very funny episode written by our dear friend Terry Winter, who was a guest on our show. Some classic Soprano lines in this episode.
Especially classic. For
Junior. Just, I love it. What am I, a cat? I don't shit in a box.
Fantastic.
And it's directed by Tim Van Patten. All right, so let's get started. A garbage truck. We see a garbage truck pulls into a small deli, kind of a poor man's 7-Eleven, I guess. Dumps garbage in the parking lot. The owner's irate. He's screaming and yelling, and they just dump a whole bunch of garbage in the guy's parking lot. And he's obviously pissed, as he should be.
Yeah, and this episode opens with a fantastic song. There's 3 killer songs in this episode. The opener is one of them. It's Space Invader by the Pretenders off that great first Pretenders album that has Precious and Stop Your Sobbing and Brass in Pocket, Mystery Achievement. That album is tremendous. It's just called The Pretenders. But that guitar work in the beginning, that's on screen that we hear over the scene, that's James Honeyman Scott. Only played on the first 2 Pretenders records. He died at 25.
Oh.
Cocaine overdose. Very influential. Johnny Marr from the Smiths talks about, that he was a huge influence. Honeyman Scott also discovered the Violet Femmes. They were busking outside the Oriental Theater in Milwaukee when the Pretenders were doing a show there. And he was so taken with them, they invited them to play at the concert after the opening band that night.
Wow.
And that's how the Violent Femmes got put on the map. So
wow. And just for the people that know, our dear friend and a wonderful guy, Louie Petraglia, who was a crew member. He is the garbage man here.
Oh, that's right.
Louie Petraglia, the guy with the long hair. He worked with us for years on the show. He's a beautiful guy.
Yeah,
I haven't
he's
talked
a
to
good
him
friend.
in a long time. I think he moved upstate. I don't know if he had a restaurant or a cafe. Maybe I'm way off, but Louie Petraglia is a crew member that
We love Louie.
gave that job to. Now we're in the garbage company office. Bobby Caniglio is Vito Ortifermo.
Antifermo.
Antifermo. What I say, Ortifermo. I always call him that. Nice guy. He was a former world middleweight boxing champ.
Undisputed world middleweight champion. Had 2 fights against Marvin Hagler. Won one and lost one, but he was a tremendous boxer. Born in Italy. Born in Italy, outside of Bari, moved to the Howard Beach. Grew up when he was a teenager. Grew up in Howard Beach.
Nice guy. He also was in The Godfather. Yeah. So the deli owner calls complaining, you dumped the garbage. They're jerking him around. Richie grabs the phone, double your garbage back if you're not satisfied. This poor guy, they haven't showed up to pick up the garbage, and then they dump it, and they're charging him double. I mean, Richie Aprile, there's not a fucking good bone in his body.
No, these are his customers, and it's just he doesn't.
It's not enough to overcharge them. I mean, he just wants to destroy everybody and everything in his path.
Yeah,
he's giving the guy the runaround, overcharging him about not picking up. Neil Mink, Tony's lawyer's office. Tony comes in.
Some Dom Perignon, case of Dom Perignon as a gift. Neil says you had a close call with that murder charge. You need to chill out. You need to stay away from the organized crime, the known haunts, of OC. You need to be at the business, because he's saying the feds are a business. They want a return on their investment. They're spending millions of taxpayer dollars. You got to spend time at the office.
He tells them anywhere but the strip club. We put you in a bunch of businesses. Neil Mink is sharp as hell. I would want him as my attorney.
He's a good attorney.
He's fatherly. He's very comforting. But he lectures Tony. Tony goes, "Oh, here comes the Neil Mink lecture series." Now Tony is defiant, like a little kid, like a parent telling your son, stay out of trouble. Tony's got a short fucking memory here.
Right. But it does sink in.
But last episode, he was a nervous wreck. His life was over. He told his attorney. I mean, the entire episode, he was on edge. He's going to go to jail or worse for the rest of his life for murder, which he convinced himself he didn't do. Suddenly now, he's got the cigar. He's a hot shot, and he's got a short memory. He forgot what happened. And Neil's telling him, stay out of trouble. Stay out of the strip club,
Yeah, and this sinks in here. I mean, he understands the threat. He doesn't want to go to jail, that's for sure.
But it takes a little while. He is a
little while. He is a little defiant.
Junior's coming out of the bathroom. The nurse is helping him. You take a sledgehammer to my balls. Yeah,
it's just I'm not a cat. I don't shit in a box. That's referring to a bedpan. He won't use the bedpan. He equates that with being a cat. The other thing, did you hear me with my fucking balls? Who can fucking eat when it's just
it's hilarious. I mean, he's grumpy. He's nasty. He's they put the stent in his balls for his heart. They went in through that way.
Through the groin. Yeah. I don't think it's balls, actually.
If he would have had manscaping, I'm sure they would have manscaped.
Would have been much easier.
It didn't exist back then, manscaping.
No, they did it the hard way. With
the lawnmower 300 didn't exist.
They didn't have that. No. They used a straight razor. It was very dangerous.
He should use a bedpan. The cat, the hospital, a lot of people, whether they know or not, that's in the studio. It looks very much like a hospital.
They built that set. There's a reference. There's first of a couple of TV references. The marshal, the federal marshal's name is McLuhan. So the nurse says, "Are you Marshall McLuhan?" Marshall McLuhan was a Canadian philosopher who wrote a lot about media. He wrote a book called Understanding Media, and talking about TV being a very a medium that you have to really participate in. And the nurse gets that joke. Junior doesn't, but it's the first of a couple of TV references that I think David somehow deliberately wanted in this episode.
The marshal puts the ankle bracelet back on. I remember shooting the scene. Dominic, who is nothing like Junior, as you know.
No,
us sitting next to each other in between laughing because Dominic thought it was funny and he got to do this thing. And
what were you laughing at with him?
The absurdity, the lines, the whole episode. I worked quite a bit in this one. It's really after you saw Bacala for the first time, then you just saw him a couple times in between, and this was an episode where you saw him and Junior a lot, and you see him really taking care of Junior.
Some ugly shirts.
Ugly
Bacala
shirts.
had some horrendous
Great
shirts.
shirts. I mean, the fat suit. Looks like a button's gonna pop. It's gonna take an eye out, for Christ's sakes.
The shirt in this scene with the squares, those brown.
It was great, and he just yells at Bacala constantly, just constantly nags him, constantly. And then he tells the girl, the nurse, "When I get out of here, I'm gonna take you to a discotheque," a very '70s reference. And there's numerous '70s references.
Yeah, and he does a lot of flirting in this episode.
Yes, a discotheque. And she even says discotheque. It was a good scene. Just you forget stuff, and I'm watching it for the first time in all these years. Brings back a lot of good memories. I enjoyed Dominic so much. Tony looks out the window. I guess he's just bored. What are you looking at? Nothing. She's going to get her eyebrows done. Carmela is constantly doing something. She's dressed up.
There's tension between them, though.
Yeah,
there's a coldness too.
She's wearing a pantsuit, going out to get her eyebrows done. I mean, no sweatpants and baseball cap.
No, she's going out, but is the tension from the previous episode? There's still, there's a coldness between them. There's not a lot of, affection. This is the second of the great songs in this episode, and it's playing over Q1043, which is a great New York rock station. Our friends Jim Kerr, Ken Dashow, Maria Melito. We've been on the radio with them many times.
Great people. Great people.
Station.
That's the station. I think it's the only classic rock station still in New York City. And they've been there for years, and they're good friends.
And it's You Got to Serve Somebody. Lyrics, really great, really appropriate to Tony. You got to serve somebody. It might be the devil. It might be the Lord. It might be a state trooper, a young Turk, the head of some big TV network. Again, another TV reference here. You might be living in another country under another name, which kind of refers to going on the lam. It's just a great song, but the use of it here, I think, is
now really Tony goes into the refrigerator. He grabs a Dove bar. He's reading the paper about the landfill. What I noticed, which I'm very surprised at, the bowl of fruit is fake.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The bowl of fruit,
I guess it's a prop thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, a bowl of fruit is fake. Tony, I'm sure he enjoyed, Jim, eating that Dove bar. You can tell he's enjoying it. And he's really eating it.
I would, too.
I would imagine that he ate 4 or 5 Dove bars that day.
But here's his attempt at taking Neil's advice, trying to get into get with the program with the waste management business. And it's just, you can see the articles. They have no appeal to him, no interest to him. Even though that's how he makes his money, a lot of his money, he just doesn't give a shit.
He's bored. Tony is very bored. And we're back in Melfi's office. We see her take kind of a double shot of Belvedere vodka.
Belvedere is a Polish rye vodka. Very good one. I used to drink that a lot back in the day. I like that one.
And a warm vodka in the middle of the day, that'll get you.
You never did that?
Yeah, but I have to have it on ice or chilled.
I've done that. That's it'll get you though. Yeah, it's not what you should be doing at work.
Listen, sure. I saw you drink on one of the hottest days of the year at the Emmys, about 1-2 in the afternoon. You were drinking a snifter of Cavassier or something, whatever you drink. It couldn't be any hotter. You were about to walk the red carpet. Yeah, it's sunglasses on, a tuxedo, and you were
drinking Cavassier. That's me. That was me at the Emmys. Yes,
woo.
no doubt.
Let's see. So Melfi, a little tipsy. Lorraine plays it great here.
Really
Lorraine
great.
Bracco.
Yes.
You could tell she's tipsy, but as people know, when you're playing someone that's drunk, as in real life, you play it as you don't want anyone to know you're drunk. You don't play it drunk like, here I am. I'm out of my mind. You're trying to keep it together, which is what she's doing. She's staying really small.
Yeah, very skillful the way she does it.
Very small. Great job here. Lorraine happens to be great in this entire episode. There's a great line here that I love. What's the point? You go to Italy, you lift some weights, you watch a movie. It's all a series of distractions until you die.
Right.
Very
and she
prolific.
says some people take pleasure in the simple doing of things, which Tony obviously doesn't. It reminds me of that Socrates quote, luxury is artificial poverty, contentment is natural wealth. She's kind of saying that, just day-to-day life, the simple doings of day-to-day life and finding pleasure. And he obviously can't. He's bored. He doesn't know what it's all for. He doesn't want to come here anymore. It's an interesting position that he's in this episode. And this is throughout this episode, really. This is what he's facing.
He says, it's just a waste of time. She doesn't think so. She's a little out of it.
I went to a therapist once, not that long ago, actually. And it was in a walk-up apartment downtown. I had never met this person. I found them on the internet. And I go up to the apartment. The place was, if you couldn't get a production designer to make it more dirty and in disarray. I didn't even want to sit down. I was afraid of getting fleas or whatever. I mean, it was disgusting. There was food in the couch and on the floor, and it stunk. And she was high as a kite on definitely either dope or pills. And it was so bizarre, I had to stay for the whole session because I was like, if you put this in a movie, it would be, no one would believe it. It was so outrageous that it was like I felt like I was in a play. It looked like a stage set. It was so bizarre, I had to stay for the whole, I was never going to come back, but I had to stay. I had a backpack with me and I put my coat in the backpack because I was afraid of putting it down on anything. And I was sitting on the edge of the couch because I'm literally afraid of getting bed bugs. The funny thing was, and she was nodding out, like she'd be talking to me and she was kind of going in and out. The funny thing was she was kind of brilliant, like really knew what she was talking about, but she was just a mess. One of the weirdest experiences of my life.
Okay, now I've got a few questions for you. Okay, first of all, did she know who you were?
I don't know.
Okay. Number two, why would you, who has access to a lot, grab someone off the internet that you didn't know?
She was on the SAG.
I understand, but usually you get recommendations. You would ask, hey.
She was a specialist in certain things that I wanted to talk about, and she had videos online that were from years ago, I guess, that were very good. You know what I mean? I mean, the videos, it looked like she was really together.
Give me her number. I want to go see her.
Yeah, you should go to see her.
Now, you should have used BetterHelp, one of our sponsors.
I should have, I didn't know them back then. I would have used them. But, the funny thing was, like I said, she was brilliant. She was just obviously had problems. But that place was so, just so dirty that I couldn't believe it.
What part of the city was it in?
Lower East Side.
That is absolutely hilarious. That is hilarious. You got to write that into your next.
It was Steve. If you saw the place, you would not believe it. You would. I literally was sitting there and thinking these things. I'm saying I feel like I'm on a stage, like it's funny. A play. I couldn't leave because it was so interesting.
That's like a movie when you go, like you see somebody like so over the top dressed or something. You go, if this was a movie, they would call him back. No, too much. 100%.
100%. It was fascinating.
Junior gets released. Now, I'll tell you.
Great shot in the beginning on the dolly, right over his shoulder, at the level of the wheelchair moving. That was cool.
There was in the lobby of Silver Cup where we shot this. Silver Cup in Long Island City, right across the East River in Long Island City, Queens. There was a girl. There was I don't know if you remember, outside the cafeteria, there was a bank of phones, pay phones. Okay. And not everybody had a cell phone in these days. And I was using the pay phone. And there was a woman next to me with a bag of quarters, like just making all her calls, waiting. She was waiting, obviously, for the scene. And I heard her saying, "Hi, I'm playing nurse so-and-so, and I have a scene, and I talked to Uncle Junior." She had this whole scenario. And I'm going, what the fuck? I overhear her. I'm going, what am I missing? That's the scene we're shooting next. I don't see any of that. She had this whole thing, where she does this and she says that and and I was like kind of worried. I went and got the sides to make sure that I wasn't missing something. And sure enough, she was an extra. And you see her in the background on that shot you're describing. She's on the left side of the screen. She was just an extra. But in her head and telling her friend, she put this whole backstory.
It's a big deal for a lot of people.
I'm just saying, she fooled me. Also, in the scene before, Melfi's office, Terry Winter is the patient.
Right, the marriage counseling.
Terry Winter's the marriage counseling that he gets up, him and his partner get up, but that's Terry Winter. Bacala is wheeling Junior. Catherine stops him. She was looking into the hotel room into the hospital room earlier.
The previous
Bacala
scene
closed the door on her, a la The Godfather, the last scene. Remember that?
That's right.
A little a la Godfather. Bacala closes the door on her. He jumps out of his chair. Catherine stops Junior, and Junior's happy to see her. He jumps
very
up
happy, flirtatious. Yeah.
She says her son is a cop, Chucky. Chucky don't give nothing.
He don't look like he likes Junior much.
He don't like Junior. He doesn't acknowledge him. He doesn't say hello. Junior very excited. She wants to have coffee. He lies and he says that he can't leave the house. It's doctor's orders. He doesn't want to tell her he's wearing an ankle bracelet.
Right.
And then he wants to. The nurse says he's got to get back in his chair. He's defiant, and here comes a 6'5" huge guy who tells Junior to get back in his chair.
And that's how about that smug smile when Junior does? Yeah. He sits down and he looks at the guy and just gives him this smug fuck you smile. It's hilarious. He's so good in this episode, Dominic.
Yes. Sanitation company headquarters. Guard door barking. Real nasty. That's a real mean junkyard dog there,
Really mean. We got our friend Joe Lisi. Joe was in the pilot, wasn't he?
I believe so.
Joe was also in Summer Sam Trees Lounge. He was an NYPD captain. He's got I think we mentioned this before, but he's got a great restaurant called Bordeaux on 46 between 8th and 9th, which I've been to a few times. Great pizza, great place to hang out.
Yeah, if you're in New York City, please visit Bordeaux. Joe was a real New York City
captain. Yeah,
good guy. And I'm telling you, he's a friend. I really like Joe a whole lot.
Go to Bordeaux, 350 West 46th Street, New York.
He's a good man. And he does a great job. He's a great actor, He does a really good job in this episode, He tells him that he introduces Tony around. This is where Tony's decided he's going to hang out in the office.
He's going to try to work. It's kind of hilarious. He's going to try. And, Joe Lisi's character, Dick Barone, is so involved in the day-to-day and the forms and the thing. It just seems like such tedious, horrible work. It's so not Tony's thing. I do want to point out Jennifer Albano, the actress who plays Connie. I thought she did a great job in this role. There's just something very honest and real about her. It's subtle, but she's I just thought she did a great job there. When he says she's born again, Dick tells Tony she's born again. That somehow interests Tony. I don't know what is that about.
When he says nice rack, she's a born again Christian, he got a little tingle.
What is it about that?
There. Hey, because she's clean and pure, and he's gonna try to corrupt her because
try to defile that.
Well, there's absolutely, you could see it already between both of them. She's digging it a little bit. She's got a very memorable role here.
Jennifer Albano was great in this role, I have to say.
He tells Dick Barone tells him that Richie's been selling cocaine along the routes,
which is such a your garbage men are selling coke.
Yeah.
So you go, the garbage man's here. I'm gonna run out and go buy an 8 ball.
Let me get out. I gotta drop this off, and I'm gonna pick something up.
You think the coke is smelly? You think it smells like rotten food and vegetables?
He could lose his license. He tells Tony, we could lose our license with the blow. You know, the DEA gets involved, we're going to have a problem.
Right. So it's not paying off local cops anymore. Now it's federal and DEA.
Richie is just a he's sand in Tony's underwear, man. He is an irritant every step of the way, every time you see him. That's it.
I never heard that expression before.
There you go.
Sand in his underwear?
I coined that.
That's a good one. Did you coin that?
I don't know. I've been saying it for years. I don't know if I coined it. Probably.
I've never heard that before.
All right.
That's a good one.
Listen, I'm a man of mystery. There's a lot you don't know about me. I know.
There's a lot I don't want to know about you.
So Melfi is in session with Elliot. Let me tell you something. Peter Bogdanovich is a really good actor.
This episode, yeah.
I believe him every step of the way that he's a psychiatrist.
He's good. See St. Jack. He directed that. He plays a CIA agent. He's really good.
He's really good. Okay, cards on the table time. How's the drinking? She says, I'm drinking between sessions. I can't take it, but only, when Tony comes in. Only when on days that she has to see Tony. Are you taking steps to end this relationship with your client here? And she says it's somehow like a train wreck.
She can't stop watching.
Watching it. She talks about the RICO Act. She's fiddling with her hands. He says, are you an alcoholic? She shakes her head, but it's not that convincing.
No, she doesn't want to admit she has a problem. She knows she's in too deep and getting obsessed, but she's not willing to she's not capable and not willing right now to step out of it. It's weird. It's like an addiction in itself.
Very weird. Very weird. Junior's house. The nurse puts on a sleep apnea mask.
The CPAP.
We shot this late at night. It was kind of late, I want to say, when we shot this. For some reason, I remember that. I don't know why.
He don't like wearing it. He think it makes him look sick, and
he's grumpy. He's aggravated, complaining. This house arrest has gotten to him. He's flirting with this nurse. He flirted with the last one. He's going to take it to a discotheque. Now he's flirting with this one. He says that she tells him he 40 arousals, which means he woke up 40 times, I guess, during the night.
All right.
And so she's fitting him for this mask. And he says, now that I met you, it'll be even more, something on that order. He'll have more arousals.
Yeah.
He's flirting with her. You can't do that today. What he's doing to the nurse, you can't do.
No, it would.
He's flat out harassing her, making her uncomfortable. And Bacala's in the back. His stomach is about to pop. And he's shaking his head. He's just shaking his head. The bell rings. He goes, Bobby asks him, who's at the door? He says, I don't know, Judge Crater. How should I know? What, is that the guy that sentenced you? Now, who's Judge Crater?
Judge Crater was a New York State Supreme Court justice who he was involved in political scandal. They think he got his position by paying off people in Tammany Hall. And, he was.
Oh, from way back when?
1930, he disappeared. So he was a famous missing persons case for years. People would say, "Oh, it's like Judge Crater. He's going to disappear like Judge Crater."
That's funny. Bobby says he's asking Junior, who's at the door? I don't know, Judge Crater. Another great line. Catherine comes in on one crutch. You hear fuck me. Junior says, when he hears it's Catherine, he goes, oh, fuck me. You know, he don't want no one coming over the house. He's annoyed. The nurse is finishing up. She goes to wash her hands. Bacala walks in with a big tray of Monagut that Catherine brought over. He's happy as can be, Bacala. Big smile on his face.
He likes Monagut. Yeah. Who doesn't? Everybody likes it.
Junior doesn't like that she's there. He tells her he lies. She just got here. It gets very awkward. Here's this older woman, brings a tray of Monagut on one crutch she carries.
Right. She went out of her way. She definitely made it specifically for him. She's interested, obviously.
Bacala says, why'd you send a nice lady away? We have nothing in common.
He calls her a dreadnought.
Yeah.
Which is a battleship, or it could be a heavy overcoat, or a slang for a heavyweight boxer too, which is weird. But he doesn't
really want anything part of her. He
did in the hospital. He was excited.
In the hospital, but now he sees this young nurse. He had the other younger nurse. I don't know. Also,
bunions.
Bunions. I told you, we talked about the feet. There's a lot of people with this feet shit. They have a feet fetish.
Attraction or a repulsion.
Absolutely.
Junior has a repulsion.
Eddie Murphy's got some feet thing. I don't know how I know that or why I know that. He's a feet guy, Eddie Murphy. Something with the feet. They look at the women's feet. When you go to a strip club or when you've gone to a strip club, do you look at their feet?
I've never looked at feet. Feet are the last thing. Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of times I don't even know if they have a head. I don't look at that. I'm not looking at their head. I just kind of look at their body, I guess.
You don't look at their eye. Eyes are the window to the soul.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. All right, the country club. It's the garbage man ball.
The garbage man's ball, which is hilarious. It's hilarious.
It's a country club. Women, they have to have the wives, are there. It's really funny. Carmela is dressed like, with the sweater around the neck. I mean, it's like if you looked up on the computer, if you Google what to wear at a country club, it's really funny.
Right. It's funny. And so is Janice. Janice is right out of the textbook, the country club. It is
unbelievable what she's, from when we met Janice to what we see now, when she was Pavati, to what we see now. She is right out of the country club encyclopedia. It's Disco Inferno by the Tramps.
And Dick Barone's talking about very specific things to the guy. And this is what I was talking about a little about house arrest, how it's referring to not just Junior, which is the obvious one, but Tony. Tony's making an effort to be around the legitimate business. To him, that's as bad as having house arrest because he's just fucking bored with this shit. He's watching them talk about the garbage business and the dumps and the EPA, and he wants I mean, it's. I think it's what's giving him a panic attack here. He's
he's bored as hell. I mean, Barone is trying to explain shit, paperwork, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
He just doesn't care.
He explains the business. Janice looks like a country club wife. Then Tony, and in this episode, you see some actors where they have a couple lines. You got Russ Brunelli, who's not an actor, but he owned a great restaurant that we used to go to up on York Avenue at the time.
He did do some acting, not only here, but yeah, he was an actor.
Russell Brunelli's a good guy, a funny guy. He owned it. A bunch of us used to go up there a lot.
Brunelli's,
Yeah, Brunelli's. Frank Adonis, who grew up in my neighborhood. He was in Goodfellas and The Juror and
he was in the scene with me in Goodfellas, one of those two scenes. That's when I first met him. And he passed away.
He passed away recently in Vegas. He had moved out to Vegas. And when I was growing up, I would take the bus to high school, the city bus, and there was not far. There was a music store, and I would pass.
I've been there, Bath Avenue, right?
Yeah, right on Bath Avenue. in Brooklyn in Bensonhurst, and he would be sitting out on the lawn chair all the time. Just sitting out front all day, all night. They eat lunch. It was a hangout. I think he lived upstairs, if I'm not mistaken. His uncle owned it, or he owned it. And Frank said, I finally met him in Vegas. And then Alan Levine is also. They all have a line or two each. Alan Levine was a guy whose father was a big politician in Jersey. He helped a lot. He was around the set. He helped us with locations. He was a really nice guy. I think he kind of had a limp, but Alan was, he passed away.
Good guy. Passed away? I didn't know that.
He passed away, Alan Levine.
Frank also was in Eyes of Laura Mars. He had a role in that movie with Faye Dunaway I think that was from the 70s, that movie.
It's very funny. They're all talking about garbage, different types of garbage. This is the garbage man's ball. He calls Richie off to the side, Tony. He asks him if he's got blow. He is pissed. He is screaming at him. To cut it out, Richie doesn't give a shit. Does not back down. He says, I'm in with Junior on this. Tony says, I don't care if you're with Walmart. And then he gives him that look, and another great classic line, don't give me those Manson lamps.
Which is very funny and very accurate, right? I just read a book about Manson that's really good. It's relatively new, called Chaos by Tom O'Neill, and it's about Manson's connections to the CIA. Very interesting book. Really? Yeah, it's a must if you're interested in that.
I got to tell you something. And I'm not saying this is done. I'm just tired of Charles Manson. He was one of the worst human beings to ever live.
But this is more about the CIA, what was going on in the late 60s with their infiltration into like the Black Panthers and them trying to kind of basically put the kibosh on the hippie movement, which was the anti-war movement. Very interesting book. Yeah. You know what's funny? When they first cut to Richie in this scene, he says one word. He's talking to Carmela. He says Nirvana. It's the only word we catch him saying, which I just thought was kind of funny. But Tony and Janice kind of make up in this scene in a weird way. He
he comments she looks pretty good in her country club outfit. It's so ridiculous. It's so over the top. I mean, like I said, you got to Google, what do I wear to the country club? And it looks like a kind of a third-rate country club, I'll be honest. Doesn't look exclusive to me.
No, not at all. Well, it's the garbage men's ball. What do what?
Tony faints. He has a panic attack.
Why do you think he has a panic attack?
Richie aggravated the shit out of him.
Is it that, or is it him just being bored with the
I think it's a combination, and his blood pressure goes through the roof with Richie. He tells him, get the fuck out of here. He's screaming at him, why do you make me ride you so much? Tony is pissed off, and Jim is so terrific. I know you say it's a simple thing like a feint. His eyes rolled to the back of his head.
It was tremendous. It was great.
I mean, it looked, if that didn't look real, I don't know what does. And he's eating the nuts. He's eating the nuts, and he's thinking, he's fucking throwing nuts down his throat. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, it's really good.
So, when he falls, no one moves except for Carmela and Janice. Everyone stays still. Did you notice that?
That's right.
Maybe people are afraid, Tony's in a hospital room. He's scratching. He's got a bad rash.
He's got a rash, which is very funny. It's like another detail just to add to the whole, his sense of annoyance.
A bad rash, too.
A bad rash.
Carmela's ragging him. She's complaining. Medication. You're paying this woman a fortune. You put a new wing on her house. If it was a guy, you would wring his neck. What are you getting for this? She's ragging him about going to therapy now.
And he just says, "Will you leave me the fuck alone?" You know what I mean? He just.
But obviously, he went there for the panic attacks. It's not working. Okay.
That doctor is Amy Redford, daughter of Robert Redford.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow. Yes, I didn't know that. She doesn't have much to do with it, but she's very good. He yells at her. I thought you would be happy with the news. It's nothing physical. I wish it was so I could rip it out. And then she says, she gives him a fucking zinger. Well, it won't hurt for you to lose some weight. Ouch.
Yeah, and he don't want to hear that.
Ouch. The one thing, and it doesn't bother me, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the fat jokes don't bother me. But because I was wearing the fat suit, it was always like, well, they're not talking about me. They're talking about Bobby and the fat suit.
Which is true.
Yeah, but I'm obviously overweight and fat in my own right. But do you know what I mean? I'm just saying. You see Bacala when he was sitting there, he's got this big giant stomach. It's not me. If it was me, it would be, well, come on, can we do something about this? The shirt was so tight. You know, they obviously fitted me like that.
Exaggerated it, yes, of course.
Yeah, but Bobby Bacala has no belly button.
But then they got rid of that because they thought it was a little, maybe they thought it was a little over the top. They didn't.
Yeah, it was a little big that season. This next season, they sent me to a real Broadway costume shop. And I had to be.
But then you eliminated it completely at one point because Bobby had more serious stuff. You know, you were becoming more an important character. You had more serious stuff to do. They didn't need the sight gag. It was just, they wanted to make him more, I think, just more real and down to earth.
Season 4. Okay, Junior's kitchen. Junior's doing the dishes. The garbage disposal is broken. Bobby comes in with the groceries. He's out of dish soap. Bobby has new dish soap. He asks him about the lady fingers, which is all these little details, like I always say, makes it so different from other 1 hour dramas.
And then you got the Entenmann's crumb cake, which my grandmother always had in the house. I grew up eating. I love Entenmann's crumb. Is that specific to Northeast, like New York and stuff, Entenmann's?
Yeah, I think so. I think more so than the rest of the country, though Sebastian Maniscalco, a very funny comic, he talks about Entenmann's in his act that they always save that for company. Don't touch that. Company's coming over. You know, they had the Entenmann's in a little box. We
didn't save it for company. We had it with coffee all the time. It was great.
My mother always had it there.
Yeah.
Always had it also. And it's really good, their coffee cake.
It's a good one.
It's a really good one. Yeah,
it's good. The garbage disposal reminded me of that Seinfeld episode when remember the dentures go in the old guy's dentures get chopped up in the garbage disposal.
The disposal again, I'll get the flange, which is, I don't know what that's something to
some kind of tool
unclog it, some kind of a tool. When St. Swithin's Day?
Well, he says St. Smithens Day.
Yeah,
but it's actually St. Swithin, who was a 9th century Anglo-Saxon bishop of Winchester, who became a saint. That's a holiday they celebrate in July on the 15th. If it rains on St. Swithin's Day, it's going to rain for 40 days or something. It's a great. Only Junior could make that line work.
Exactly. Disposal's not working. Junior asks Bobby. So he asks him about Roberta. Now he struck out with the 2 nurses. And now he's asking about Roberta.
Roberta's from the Boca episode.
She talks about. She talked a lot, but she was a great piece of ass. Game for anything. Yeah. And Bobby says, I'll be honest. I ran into her. She was very cold. At the Fountains of Wayne, which is a store in Wayne, New Jersey, which the band got their name from.
Right.
And that sells all them kind of lawn pieces and the things. That's what he says. He got a kid pissing. Statues and things for the backyard. It's one of those kind of stores. Big store. We've shot there.
Yeah. A good band, a very cool rock band. The bass player, Adam Schlesinger, passed away on April 1st of COVID,
Really?
Unfortunately. Yeah, Fountains of Wayne bass player, Adam
Schlesinger. So Junior's obviously on house arrest. I'm thinking Junior's horny here.
It's all about Junior.
Horny.
Yeah, he wants to get laid.
Yeah.
He wants some action, no doubt.
He wants a little action. Junior.
He's reminiscing. He blew it with Roberta. She was game. Why did he,
She was a good one, yeah. She talked a lot, and you could see him thinking about it. The Dominic's acting, you see him thinking about
the good days.
What a great piece of ass.
It's hard to take back the pie in the face, though. That's not going to be an easy one for her to get over, I bet.
Soprano House, the book club. It's all the wives.
This didn't last, this book club, did it? Did we see this a lot? I don't remember seeing much of this.
I don't know if we see it again. Maybe. It's Frank McCourt, Tiz.
He also wrote Angela's Ashes. I worked with his brother, Malachi, who was a actor and writer as well. I worked with him on Life on Mars.
How was he?
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank McCoy, I think he's a Brooklyn guy, Brooklyn Heights.
Yeah.
No? I believe so. They're talking about the book and back and forth, and it's the usual suspects. Now, I need a little explanation here. The container came from Italy.
I guess
Whose was it?
They're referring to Annalisa, Sophia Milo's character, because he says
came for that guy or from that guy.
She said he refers to her. She sent it.
Okay. I thought.
But this is hilarious. They're putting on the costume, the uniforms. Vinny's big pussy's imitating Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. It's just like they're like kids. They're like the Little Rascals, and Tony's bummed out that he can't. He's bored
like
at home.
Playing after school, and I can't go.
Now, do they really have Patton's Jeep and Gehring's pistols? I mean, that's
what they're saying.
That's museum quality memorabilia.
They got Jeeps. They got Lugers. They're playing. Paulie's playing with a gun. He's doing the Sergeant Schultz. He can't go, Tony. It's like when you got homework, you didn't do your homework. Everyone's outside playing, and Tony can't go, and he's bummed out about that. He'd like to be there.
But what they're doing is so goofy and silly.
They're playing with guns. These are murderers. These are killers.
I know nothing. It's hilarious. It's that moment cracked me up. That's just great writing to make that happen.
Terry wrote some funny stuff.
It's great.
And there is one of the funniest episodes right here. We've got the restaurant. Melfi's having lunch with a very highbrow, highfalutin son. Very highbrow.
Well, I don't know if he's highbrow. Why do you say that?
Well, because he's using big words. He's a Wonder Bread wop for sure. He ain't a regular Italian kid.
And that's not cool, or what? That's a bad thing to be, or what are you saying?
I didn't say it was bad. Well, I just said that's what he was. I didn't say it was a bad thing.
You're saying he's a phony.
No. I just said he's a little highfalutin. And like he likes using the big words. I think he looks down on his mother a little bit. That's what I think.
He looks down, but he's following in her footsteps. She's assuming he's taking literature, and he says, "I'm not." He's studying Jacques Lacan, they called the French Freud. So he's actually following in her footsteps. He's studying psychiatry, psychology.
When I was in college, I was looking to get laid and get drunk. That's it. Get laid, get drunk. Two things. That's it.
But
I did
not
fine.
Everybody's like you, Steve. Some people.
I also was 100 pounds lighter, so things were fine.
Some people want to learn in college.
Some people
like this kid, obviously. But I think the important thing is, because it ties into this episode, Jacques Lacan talked about desire. Desire doesn't refer merely to needs and wants. It's an existential lack, a hole that's never filled. And the thwarting of desire drives our pleasure. This is what Tony's dealing with. This is a theory that Jacques Lacan talked about. So I think that's important because it really ties into the episode. And it's also important that he's studying psychology. Despite the tension with his mom, he is following in her footsteps. She's drunk in this scene, and she's not really paying attention to him.
She's drunk. I don't know, flat out drunk, but she's certainly tipsy. That's for sure. She's it together pretty good. She's not the Foster Brooks drunk here. She's not slobbering.
But it's taking her out of the moment, I think.
Yeah, I agree. They're both drinking red wine. Who knows what she's already had? Girl smoking. First of all, for people that don't remember, younger people, you could smoke in a restaurant. You had smoking and non-smoking section.
Well, first you could smoke anywhere.
Anywhere.
And then in the 90s, it became smoking section.
Which was ridiculous because you were right next to the section cut off at some point.
Like on a plane, too.
Yeah, exactly. You're in row number 20, and that's the last row, and 21 is smoking. It makes absolutely no sense,
No.
And she asked the girl to move the cigarette. The girl's very defiant, the woman, not moving it. She don't give a shit, not even turning it the other way, which a lot of people don't care. Some smokers just don't give a shit. I'm going to smoke. You don't like it. It's too bad. You move. I'm not moving. And that's what happens here. She doesn't let it go. She throws the napkin in the woman's face. They have her removed, which is a pretty embarrassing thing to be asked.
Maitre D, James Barberi, an old friend of mine who plays he plays a maitre d in the scene, gets rid of her. Yeah, it's very embarrassing for the kid.
And he's embarrassed, Next thing, we're at Junior's house at night. His hand is stuck. He's been there. Luckily, Janice and Richie come in.
But he's got like what, a ladle, and he's trying to reach the phone.
I think he's trying to. No, the phone's not over there.
Reach the soap.
Trying to get the soap out of the bag that Bobby left on the counter. He's trying to get the soap because if he had that soap, he could have loosened his hand.
He's been there for 6 hours.
6 hours, which for anybody would be a long time. Never mind someone his age, and he's like kind of almost crying.
He's losing it, yeah.
This house arrest, and they're making a joke out of it a little bit.
They're making a joke. They're laughing at it.
She's saying, "You're lucky I don't tickle you." Finally gets him out. Richie's going, go limp, go limp. He's flexing. He's nervous. Sits him down. He's a wreck. He's miserable.
Miserable.
When you couldn't be more miserable. She says, "I hope you're going to come to the engagement party." He's fucking aggravated. She says, "I'm going to make coffee." He doesn't like Janice as it is. "I don't give a shit if you do or you don't."
No, and he's pissed off. Where does he get the effrontery? Another great Junior line. Only great Junior line. Could say that and make it work. Richie's stirring the shit, saying, Tony's shitting all over us. He mentions he looks like Wallace Beery. Wallace Beery is an actor, played Long John Silver in Treasure Island and was in the original Champ. But he liked to golf. I think that's what he's referring to.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Look like Wallace Beery gives him a light envelope. He's the only one that wants to eat. He won't let us sell the Coke anymore. And they're both, you see them keep cutting to Janice. They're working Junior. They want to kill Tony. They want Tony out of it.
They want him, but there's that one shot of Janice when you could just see she's
evil.
She wants Tony gone.
Now they're in the sanitation office. Tony's doodling at the desk. And he's scratching himself bloody with the ruler. Now, I don't know if you saw. Did you see The Night Of on HBO?
No.
Okay. The Night Of. Let me tell you something, Michael, and I'm not kidding you. It was a fantastic limited series on HBO starring John Turturro. Not good. Great. And anyone out there, if you haven't seen it, it was kind of underrated.
It was Richard Price, right?
Yeah. Fantastic.
And, Jim was supposed to do it.
Jim did the pilot where they play like kind of a broken down attorney with psoriasis, bad. And Jim was in the pilot, then he passed away. John Turturro, who they were very close friends, Jim and John. And John, who's one of the best actors out there, as you know, he plays this broken down attorney, scratching himself with a ruler, with a back scratch, with anything he can because he's so itchy. And it just brought that back to me with Jim scratching him, Tony Soprano scratching himself bloody with this ruler over this rash, But The Night Of, I'm telling you, This is something to see. I'm telling you.
But he's drawing goldfish in a bowl, which is hilarious. He's so bored. He just, he really shouldn't be there. It just makes no sense. No. He's not even flirting in this. The rash is aggravating him. He's bored. Connie comes in and he's not even really flirting with her in this.
Melfi session. We're in Elliot's office. It's time you consider a 12-step program. She says, "I won't drink with my son anymore." Oh, we're bargaining now.
All right, which is what addicts do. I'm gonna cut down. I'll only drink on the weekends. I'll always only have wine. That's the bargaining. And she's like, "I'm coming to you." He's saying therapy's not a substitute for addressing the addiction, like in a 12-step program or something like that.
And he wants to put her on the OCD medicine,
Luvox,
and she's not happy about that at all.
She's not happy, but she's obsessed with Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
Besides being having a drinking problem here, and she needs to deal with it, obviously.
Tony's the doctor's office. Tony's and Junior meet. Junior's complaining the coke provides a good income stream. Well, keep it away from the garbage roots, he says. He tells the doctor that he sent the nurse. She never came back.
Shalimar, yeah.
Shalimar was big in the 70s, like discotheque 70s. He sent her a bottle of Shalimar, and the doctor plays dumb. She never mentioned it. The doctor knows why she didn't go back. The doctor knows why.
Why
because
didn't
he was flirting with her. He was giving her, it was a little sexual harassment.
Maybe. Or maybe she just didn't need to go back. I don't know.
He says he's complaining about the money, and this plastic pillow costs $20, and this and that, and this and that. He said, well, go sit on a pile of money.
Well, Tony says Tony's referring to Junior has a ton of money because he doesn't spend any money.
And he doesn't deny having a ton of money.
Right. He doesn't spend money. What does he spend money on?
The lawyers and nonsense. And he says, in the 50s, we all got along. And Tony says, yeah, I remember that picture of Albert Anastasia was amicable on the barbershop floor. So, yeah, Junior has money. He lives, like you said, he lives pretty crappy, in an old, crappy house. I don't know. It's more like a game. I don't know if it's about the money. I don't know.
It's ego, and it's pride and stuff. I mean, you see it in the next scene in Junior's house when he opens the fridge. There's like soda, yogurt, orange juice, beer, it's like depressing. He lives like this lonely bachelor existence.
He's looking for the Monagot that Catherine brought. Bobby says it's gone. And then he says to Junior, "Why do you got to be so nasty? It's not my fault. You got your hand stuck." He sees the tray. He decides he wants to talk to Catherine. He calls directory assistants, Belleville. It's a recording. He yells, "Cocksucker Belleville."
He doesn't realize it's a recording at first.
It's a white phone. Later on, it becomes a green phone to match the wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Doctor's office. Tony's getting an exam for the rash again with the stress. Is that all you people know about the stress? He's bringing it. Dr. Cusimano, he's got a big mouth.
He's got a
big fucking mouth.
He talks. He does a lot of talking.
He told this doctor that he sees a psychotherapist. That's supposed to be completely confidential, even among doctors.
Even among doctors? Really?
Sanitation office. Tony's having sex with Connie on the desk. The dog is barking. It's a funny scene. She keeps slipping off the desk.
The phone's ringing. The dog's barking. And then right behind Tony's head is the big B with a crown on it for Barone. It's kind of funny. I guess he's trying to have fun. He's at work.
Jim, I don't think nor would I be, but was so comfortable in the sex scenes. And he told me, and I don't know if I told the story, but about his Gomata, when she wanted to, maybe I did tell it, but I'll tell it again. With his Gomata that he had, not Annabella, the other girl, she had...
Irina.
Yeah, she said, one of the girls said she had studied up this Kama Sutra book, and they were supposed to have a sex scene, and she had some ideas for different positions. And Jim said to her, "I could barely fucking climb on top of you." Forget the positions.
Don't get creative. No. Keep it simple.
Junior kitchen. He's having coffee with Catherine. I'm surprised to hear from you. She says, "I thought you weren't interested."
He was interested, yeah. She's talking about her husband who passed away, who was a cop. She asked if he was on the take. Obviously, he was on the take.
Yes.
He
does a nice thing, Junior. Junior does a nice thing here. She says, "I used to find hundreds of dollars in his pants at night." And Junior says, "Hey, maybe he wanted at the track." Junior does a nice thing. Saves this woman. He died 15 years ago. She says, "I thought I heard yelling. I came by here the other night." That's when he had his hand stuck in the drain.
He had his hand stuck. She could have helped him.
Empty house. Carmela and Tony, they're looking at the house.
Now,
Richie
why is
and
Carmela and Tony with Richie and Jan?
I don't know that. I guess they want to show what we're buying and show off, I think, part of it.
Well, Richie definitely, yeah.
You know, as you see,
trying to show him up.
It's a big house.
Well, it's also a version of Tony and Carmela's house. It's like they want to become Tony and Carmela.
Oh,
they
of course.
Say the address. He says it's Stag Trail Road, which is Tony and Carmela's address.
Yeah, I believe.
I don't know. So they're moving right to the neighborhood. It's this very similar house. You know, that's what I got. That they're trying to be Tony and Carmela.
You know, Richie's rubbing it into Tony. He says, "You're not making $850,000 at the job at the fish store or whatever." He's mocking him a little. We got a new lawn. When's the last time you got a new lawn?
Oh yeah, he says it's skim coat, not that sheetrock crap. He said basically saying this is a better house than yours. And then what's weird, she says this is a great school district. So they want to have kids. I mean, what?
Well, they're showing that she's kind of showing that this house. You know, you said, Ma, we don't own that house, so if we want to have kids, we need a bigger space. And this is a tremendously big house, $850,000, and this is 20 years ago. So it's an expensive place. Kind of the outside looks kind of very
expensive. Yeah, no doubt.
Very nice. And he's rubbing it in. Tony's starting to have a panic attack. He's pissed. Talks to him again about the coke, the drugs.
Yeah.
Starting to panic. Outside he goes.
So it's the drugs. It's also, I think there's something about the domesticity, you know, the whole regularness of life that we talk about too. I think something about that really is getting to him in this episode, like the house arrest we were talking about. And the stress with Richie, but and it reminded me a little bit of the Kevin Finnerty stuff that happens later.
Yeah,
later on in the show, but it's he says, poor bastard. Is he referring to Richie? Because he's with Janice?
Richie. Yeah. Because listen to her. She's talking shit. The school district, the thing. Okay, let me show you this. And, oh, come on. I mean, really, even Carmela, I got to tell you, come on. What are you? She's got to stick her nose. She's the godmother. She got to stick her nose everywhere.
Right.
Dressed up. I mean, I find Carmela to be very phony.
Pretentious.
I find her to be pretentious, very much so, very much so. You know, the way she dresses, and Janice here is dressed up with heels, and Janice looks great looking at a house. I mean,
do they buy that house? I don't remember. Do they buy the house?
Yeah,
they do. Yeah.
They do, yeah. Don't you remember later on we see his son dancing, ballroom dancing in the house? A sanitation office. Dick comes in, he's talking to Tony.
Tony's busy at work doing a basketball, and he's really taking it very serious. He doesn't want to be interrupted.
He tells him that they got Richie's driver on video. He sold 3 ounces of coke in the arcade. Yeah. I spoke to him. He said, no, it happened last night. Tony kind of blows it off. He doesn't really want to hear it.
He's doing this basketball thing. He wants to make people happy in the. It's just so weird. He's trying to work, but he's not going to work. But he's going to do this basketball pool. He's with the ruler. He's being really very precise about it. He doesn't really want to hear.
It's very funny.
Yeah, he doesn't want to hear about Richie right now.
Now we go to Junior's house. Olivia calls Junior. Another great line. She says, "I heard you keeping time with Catherine Romano." You know, Belleville, New Jersey is like a small town USA.
So she's basically saying she's
she's so sweet. And my Johnny told me he felt her up behind the Sons of Italy Hall.
About 60 years ago.
At least. Well, no, more than that. Yeah.
At least. But it's pretty. And why does Olivia, is she jealous? Because she likes Junior? Or what's the deal?
She's just
she's just a miserable
bastard. And also, Tony still has not spoken to his mother. Season 11.
Episode 11.
Episode 11, season 2, yeah. And then Junior, classic line, what you don't know could fill a book, and he hangs up on it. Great line. They're down in the Junior's basement. Junior kind of romancing her, wooing her a little bit.
What now? They're drinking homemade wine. Is he referring to the wine press? That was his father's.
Yeah.
Not
it was
the
his
wine.
father. No, his father's uncle.
So he makes
father's
wine,
uncle.
Junior.
Yeah, he says it's sweet, but nothing like the taste of homemade wine. He's wooing her.
Homemade wine could go either way. Once in a while, it's good. Very often, it was horrendous.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a big homemade wine guy.
It's a couple of people know how to do it right. Sometimes it's really, rarely it's really good. Usually, it's horrible.
There was a little Italian restaurant called Mama Tori's near my house where I grew up. It was great food. It was really inexpensive, especially back then. When I was younger, we used to go in there. The guys, when I was, in high school and college. A very famous place, very small. The wife cooked, the husband was the waiter, Silvio his name was, and you would ask for a special, and they didn't have a liquor license, and they had the old Coke bottles, the heavy ones, and they would have homemade wine, whatever it cost, a couple bucks, and we would drink that.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was good.
It was
good.
okay.
Well, what did I know? But she says, "Oh, who was that? Everything okay?" Because she must have heard him yelling, and she goes, "Oh, that poor Olivia has had a tough life." And he says, "Yeah, if she fell into," another great line, "if she fell into a sewer pipe, she come out wearing 2 gold watches."
Right. What did she say? I heard she's not well. She said she was never well. And then she says, "Does it hurt?" He shows her the ankle bracelet.
He fesses up because she wants to go out to lunch. We could go to Friendly's. And he says it beeps. And
she says, "Does it hurt?" And he says it beeps.
he fesses up. He fesses up that he's under house arrest. And it doesn't bother her. She says, "I could come over and make you food." She likes him. I think she
likes him. He's wooing her a little bit.
I think she's looking to they're both looking to get lucky here.
I seem so, yeah.
And I wonder, and I'll talk about it after this. I got Melfi's office. He's still a miserable prick. I'm still passing out. And he says, "You seem very mellow today." She's a little disheveled, like kind of little.
She's drunk.
Well,
not drunk, but she's buzzed. She's drinking. She's
on that medicine. She's on the medicine.
She's on the medicine, and she's probably drinking.
She's on the medicine. He says, "You're on drugs, and I'm boring myself to death."
Right.
And she talks about the shark, why a shark has to keep moving.
Well, and he brings up in the Declaration of Independence, the pursuit of happiness. And she said, only the pursuit is guaranteed, not the happiness. And he says, "Oh, he's a fucking loophole."
Great lines, man.
Which means what? I don't know. That he can't be happy. Like he wants the quick fix. He feels he should be happy by now. I don't know. It's interesting.
What happens when these antisocial personalities aren't distracted from the horrible shit they do?
Right. And it talks about the individual craves almost ceaseless actions so they can avoid facing the abhorrent things that they do. And this also refers to what her son, Jacques Lacan, and what her son was studying.
I got to tell you, these lines, it's so good. The writing is so good.
Yeah.
Geez, what other show anywhere, even what other film with lines like this? It's so, meaningful, funny, sad. You got everything here. Just great.
Yeah.
Just great.
It is very good. And, she also says, to face the emptiness and self-loathing they've had since childhood, and then they crash, when they're forced to face these things. It's heavy stuff, but that's kind of what they're both dealing with in a weird way too, it seems.
Tony's having a tough time here.
He's having a tough time.
He's bored. He doesn't have many hobbies. What about you? You have hobbies? You collect stamps?
Coins? I have no. This is my hobby. Talking Sopranos podcast.
Talking to me is your hobby?
That's doing this show. Well,
so in other words, it doesn't matter who you're talking to.
No.
Talk to me. You talk to anyone.
Work is my hobby. I don't have hobbies. I
don't have a hobby.
Not just work on TV, but whatever. Doing
you
this,
cook.
writing.
That's a hobby.
That's not a hobby. I don't enjoy it that much to be a hobby. No, I do it when I'm hungry or when I got to feed my family.
You don't golf? Have you ever golfed?
Never.
Never golfed?
No.
No, you play chess?
No. I don't have hobbies. I mean, I work out. That's not a hobby. That's for exercise and health. But no, I don't cook as a hobby. I like cooking when I have to, but it's not a hobby. I can't.
You don't collect bottle caps or?
Well, what's your hobby?
So you do collect bottle caps?
No.
I know. I don't really have any hobbies at all. Really, at all. I read a lot. That's not a hobby, is it? I read a lot.
No, that's not.
I'm not a big TV watcher. I'll watch some movies.
But that's not a hobby.
I take my walk. I mean, I don't know.
No. No hobbies.
No hobbies. I eat a lot. Junior's house. He's snoring. Catherine's watching TV. And Dick Van Dyke Diagnosis
Murder. I love Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke is almost 95.
It's amazing.
And I loved Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Mary Poppins when I was a kid. I've always loved Dick Van Dyke show. You know what he does every Halloween? He does a haunted house. He lives in Malibu. And he's famous for this haunted house he makes in his, like a haunted yard. He does all these decorations and people come and he dresses up. You never know which one's him.
Wow.
He's got his family and friends and their ghouls and monsters. And one of them's Dick Van Dyke and you don't know. People come and they wander around the yard. I don't know if they go in the house, but they wander around.
95 years old. You know, Carl Reiner said that he was the most talented person he ever met. That Dick Van Dyke was the most talented person he ever met.
I've always liked him.
And what do you think? You don't think they had sex, Junior and Catherine, do you?
No.
She's rubbing his feet. You don't think this is a little pillow talk there? Maybe?
He doesn't like feet, but he's okay getting his feet rubbed.
His feet rubbed. He's wearing this ridiculous mask, and she helps put it on him. She's very nurturing and wants to take care of Junior. The pork store back room. Paulie's making sauce. The crew's hanging out. In real life, I don't think Sirico cooks. He makes chicken breasts.
He makes meatballs.
Does he?
Yeah.
I know he makes chicken breasts, because, if you called him in the daytime, you say, Tony, come on, we're all going out to dinner. I got the chicken breasts. They're thawing out. They're on the stove. I got the chicken breasts. So he can't go out that night.
No, because he's
already thawed.
No, but he could make a sauce, macaroni, and he can make meatballs.
Oh, he could do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Christopher, our long lost leader, Christopher's playing cards with Hesh.
Well, it's the first time you see Christopher after the hospital, right?
Yeah, and you weren't in the last episode.
He was recovering from his.
So you worked one day. You worked 1 day and 2 episodes.
1 day and 2 episodes.
That was pretty good. You had time to go fuck around. So he's sitting around. They're all sitting around. Tony comes in. They're all happy to see him. He's happy to see everybody. He sits down, just mundane shit. They're playing cards.
Yeah, but they're talking about jobs. We should get to some of that Japanese technology down by the docks. And I guess they're referring to cars or something, sent it to Italy. Tony doesn't even want to hear about. He's just kind of happy to be there. He's got his shoe polisher. He's happy to be with the guys where he belongs.
Big pussy's reading a comic book or a magazine.
Porno, I think.
Oh, is it? Yeah?
I think it's Club, yeah.
So you know about that shit.
I saw it on the TV.
You know a lot because you were a porn raider.
You just have to look at what he's reading. It's Club.
It's business as usual.
He's talking about moisturizing cream, him and Silvio. But Tony seems like he's happy to be back. You know what? Fuck the risk. I want to be with my guys. This is where I belong.
But you know what? We've talked about this. They just hang around. Probably, 23 hours a day. These guys are doing nothing. They have their scores. They do whatever they do. But for the most part, they're hanging. It's mundane bullshit. They want to get away from their wives. They see their gumadas on Friday nights. They're with their wives. They take them out probably Saturdays. they hang around the daytime. Sunday,
Yeah.
they're home for Sunday dinner, and they're just hanging around doing nothing. There's a car crash. They all run outside. Tony tells Sil, go tell this kid Carmine. I told him to stop driving crazy, speeding in the neighborhood. Here comes Agent Harris, introduces him.
Oh, Gary Perez, another member of the Labyrinth Theater, we got tons of members of the Labyrinth Theater. Great New York, one of the best New York off-Broadway companies. Tons of their members made their way to The Sopranos. Gary Perez plays the new FBI agent. We have Matt Servito. Tony's not going back to Barone Sanitation, right?
No, this is it. He loves it here. He's got the cigar. You got Paulie with the sun visor. I used to use those. Those were big in the 70s also. The reflector.
The reflector.
Everyone
very
on the
bad
beach.
for
Very, it's horrible. I had one for many years. I even brought one. I had it with me 20 years later in Vegas. I brought it with me from Brooklyn. And it's that silly reflector. I guess you could buy it maybe on Amazon. They had those reflectors, all the like kind of Goombas in the neighborhood would have them doing exactly what Tony's doing and what Paulie's doing. And also at the beach, you had this reflector. So
Crazy.
Even a little bit of sun, crazy shit. But he mentions the Nets, Matt Servito, Agent Harris, and he says, yeah, they're looking good. They got that Williams. Now, Williams, and I forget his first name, maybe somebody can help me with that, was the player. He played for the Nets. He was an all-star, and he accidentally shot the limo driver.
Oh, right.
At his home. I don't think it's John. At his home, shot the limo driver.
Jason Williams.
Shot the limo driver, and then tried to cover it up.
Right.
It was an accident. Shot the limo driver, went to jail. It's a horrific, horrible story. He's out of jail now. His life turned upside down. Just coincidental that's the
accidental shooting.
It's an accidental shooting. He was showing them the guns. They were partying, and they covered it up. It was horrible, but that's it's just coincidental now to watch it 20 years later.
Yeah, it seems weird that the feds are there, but
they're just stopping by.
They're stopping by to say hello. Tony's kind of okay to see them. He's happy. I mean, this is where he belongs. He's in his element.
Couldn't be happier.
I love the crane shot. They pull back from the guys. And here's the third great song in this episode. This is my favorite song out of all the ones they ever used on The Sopranos. Here it is. Johnny Thunders, You Can't Put Your Arm Around a Memory. One of my favorite musicians of all time. John Anthony Genzali, that was his real name, born in Queens, died at 39, died way too young. He was in the New York Dolls. He was in the Heartbreakers, not the Tom Petty Heartbreakers, the one with Richard Hell and Jerry Nolan and Walter Lure. But the title of the song, You Can't Put Your Arm Around a Memory, comes from The Honeymooners. He was watching The Honeymooners on Channel 11 late one night in New York, and he heard that line. Ralph Cramden says, you can't put your arm around a memory. And Alice says, I can't even put my arms around you. And he wrote this song, one of my favorite songs ever. And I have to say, I'm proud.
going to go back and listen.
I'm proud that my work and Johnny Thunder's work somehow crisscrossed. He was a real original and a great musician.
That's great. And Terry Winter is a huge Honeymooner fan. So I wonder if that was a suggestion.
And the song just works. I mean, it's not even there's not so much of a literal thing, but it just works and it's beautiful. Really happy about that.
That's great. It was a great episode, man. All right. I enjoyed this episode a lot.
Really good one. Yeah.
I mean, they're all good, but I really enjoyed this. All right. Now it's time for the Talking Sopranos Ask Me Anything segment. The winner of our AMA Best Question is Alec from Boston, Massachusetts. And we're sending Alec a pair of Bose headphones.
Alec asks, what was the first film you saw that made you want to become an actor? I can't say there's one, I probably would say Midnight Cowboy, Dog Day Afternoon, those two. I saw them when I was really young. And There was something about these outcast characters. And just the way they were acted, that it was just, I don't know, they were larger than life. There was something very real about them. Those movies just really affected me. I wanted to be in film, I think, because of those two movies.
That's great.
What about you?
I didn't have that dream like you, but because I acted before I thought about it becoming, a career. But what I did like, and I talked about this before, I liked Paul Sorvino a lot. I liked Peter Falk a lot.
From what movie, Paul Sorvino? Like when?
Well, I mean, that championship season.
That's a good movie, yeah.
So I like that. Danny Aiello from way back when. Danny Aiello, guys that spoke like me, kind of looked like me. Peter Falk was a kind of a regular guy. You knew Peter. You were very good friends with him. And
Peter was a friend of mine. I got to know him in 2000. I wrote a script with somebody, and for him, and got it to him, and then we met, and he really wanted. We never were able to get a deal and get it made.
Yeah.
But he loved it. But we became friends. I loved him. I love his acting. Went Under the Influence and Husbands and Mikey and Nikki.
And I got to work with him. On Columbo. Robert Stroud. Remember Robert Stroud? He was a character actor.
Who's that?
I loved him at Starlock 17. He's did a ton of movies.
I don't know. I probably know him if I saw him.
Oh, you absolutely do. So, just like people like that said, well, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's Robert Redford. Not everyone's a leading man, And that was a thing about The Sopranos, where it didn't matter if you had experience. If you were the guy, you know what I mean? If you were the guy and you delivered the goods, didn't really matter what you look like. They weren't looking for the most. It's not a soap opera where the guys with the best bodies and the most hair and the whitest teeth. This was imperfect people. And that's where I fit in, So.
All right. Well, congratulations, Alec. Thank you for your question.
Oh, also, let me just put it out there. Don't forget, Talking Sopranos shirts. You guys, you got the nice shirts. All right. I think you see that. Merchandise, go to TalkingSopranos.com. We got mugs. You asked for the merchandise. You guys got it. It's nice stuff. So, if you want that, go to TalkingSopranos.com, see what we got there. Okay, so thanks for listening. Remember, new episodes are released every Monday. Please subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and please like us on Facebook. And please remember to subscribe on YouTube.
Our executive producer is Jeff Sussman. Our producer is Andy Verderam. Music, theme song, composed and performed by Elijah Amaton. You can hear more of Elijah's music and the band Zopa, which Elijah and I play in together, by clicking the links at TalkingSoprano.com. Our production crew includes Eric Desi, Bobby Hutch, Frank McKay, Ty Verderam, Sierra Schirripa. Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production. I hope all you listeners stay for our credits, because these people work very hard and they need to be acknowledged.
They sure do. All right, man. Nice talking to you. Yeah, you got to find a hobby. We got to find hobbies. Maybe we should try to find some kind of hobby.
All right, I'll meet you on the golf course.
Nah, not for me. I've never golfed.
Bowling, that's a good sport.
I'm not bad. I bounce it like Fred Flintstone. I'm not a bad bowler. I like bowling.
I like pool.
No, don't get a pool.
Shooting pool? I'm pretty good at pool.
All right, we'll figure it out.
See
you next week, man. Take care.
All right.